podium, please state your name and the municipality in which you live. Having said that, is there anyone who would like to address council at this time? If so, please come forward. And would you please state your name and municipality for the record?
My name is Doug Zylstra, 152 East 24th Street, County Commissioner for the City of Holland. I'm just going to give this to Kathy 1 second.
Thank you.
So just did want to give a quick update on where we are with our ARPA funds. The ARPA funds is the American Rescue Plan Act funds that you are also working with, so familiarity there. But since I've last been here, we fully approved one major project, and that was a $5,000 inflationary impact payment to benefited employees and a $1,000 payment to non-benefited employees at a total cost of $5.2 million. That is prorated based on hours worked, so if you're a 30-hour employee with benefits, you'll receive 75% of that $5,000. Other counties have put some of these bonuses into the base wages. At Ottawa County, that is not forming part of the employees' base wages. So going forward, it's a one-time payment only. Yesterday on Finance Committee, we spent over $31 million of ARPA tax, ARPA money, and that was I think a very interesting meeting. It's not every day that you spend $31 million in a couple hours, so it was both a privilege and a big responsibility, I think, as far as the commissioners were concerned. So we approved a suite of projects, 24 in total, ranging from a large-scale child care plan to an affordable housing loan fund to a number of important county projects, both community projects as well as internal county projects that we believe will better serve county residents should they get final approval at next Tuesday's Board of Commissioners meeting. I did leave Kathy with a list of the proposals that we did approve on finance. I'll be posting those later on tonight online as well, so residents can look at those. Please reach out to me if you have any questions on those, as well as the residents who may be watching. Very interested in getting feedback on those. Like I said, $31 million, we don't usually do that every day, so I think it's a big moment for the community. If these were to pass in their entirety, Ottawa County would still retain $15 million in ARPA funds, which has largely been reserved for broadband efforts throughout the county, but which can also be used to fund other projects as the board wishes, whether it's this board or the incoming board. I also want to thank City Manager Van Beek for his efforts on the task force. It was a pleasure seeing you at Fillmore again, and thank you for your work. It was a long path, but I think as far as the task force projects, they were really transformative projects, so thank you. That's all I have right now. If you have any questions, please reach out at dzylstra@myottawa.org. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to address council at this time? And would you please state your name and municipality for the record?
Ann Henriksen, Zeeland. Good evening, council. Before I begin, I would like to inform you that we have special guests this evening. Dr. Sarah Estelle from the Department of Economics of Hope College and Dr. Jordan Baylor, the Director of Research at the Center for Religion, Culture, and Democracy at First Liberty Institute, will be speaking as co-authors of an article in the Holland Sentinel, "We Can Do Better on Religious Liberty." Before they begin their presentation, I would like to make a few comments. First of all, Mayor Box, thank you so much for so graciously answering the emails and phone calls possibly to encourage you to make April Faith Month 2023 calendar this year. Here is the email of his response, and thank you for reaching out. I received many requests for mayoral proclamations on a variety of issues. Holland is a community of people with deep faith, and it would be very fitting to honor the diverse variety of faiths in our community by proclaiming April as Faith Month. As you stated in your email, I did proclaim May 5th, 2022 as National Day of Prayer in Holland. Proclaiming April as Faith Month would follow that tradition. Thank you for your suggested proclamation. As with all proclamations, I am currently working with staff to draft Holland-specific language. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. That was very kind, and I know that many other people received similar. Mayor Box Road, as with all proclamations, I am currently working with the staff to draft Holland-specific language. Concerning the staff, it is my hope that they will be informed of the big picture taking place in our community, libraries, schools, Ottawa County departments, in Holland Sentinel, and etc. Even though you do not sit on their boards, your anti-discrimination ordinance has greatly influenced them. They are infringing on our religious freedoms. Hopefully this proclamation will clearly state your promised protections in your DEI ordinance. In the Concerned Women of America proclamation, April Faith Month 2022, and in the National Day of Prayer proclamation submitted to the U.S. Congress, it is usually adhered to in its entirety by municipalities because it is a United States declaration. This is done out of respect. I believe this would hold true for Obama's administration declaration of June as Pride Month. Therefore, we're asking for the same consideration for April Faith Month. If it is necessary to draft specific language, we recommend you include the following CWA proclamation. Whereas attacks on religious liberty and people of faith continue to plague our nation, with some religious charities even being forced to betray their tenets in their faith in order to participate in certain government programs, whereas many seek to criminalize religious beliefs on certain controversial areas. Right here in Holland, we have evidence of forceful discrimination. Bethany Christian Services for Children have been forced to violate their faith values, adopting children to same-sex couples by the Michigan Attorney General, or they would lose their funding. Other ministries in Holland who help the homeless have feared the same happening to them, thus the amendment submitted by Councilman Byrd to the 2020 DEI, and if you remember, this was tabled. Freedom of speech is challenged when employees are disciplined for mentioning their faith opinions in the workplace, and I believe the gentleman spoke on that in September 21st council meeting. So we are asking you, Mayor Box, please make sure you include these whereas that are in the proclamation from the Concerned Women of America. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address council at this time? And would you please state your name and municipality for the record?
Good evening. I'm Sarah Estelle. I live in Holland. I am an economics professor at Hope College, and I'm here tonight in my capacity as the project director of Religious Liberty in the States, a project of the Center for Religion, Culture, and Democracy. That project is a tool for researchers, elected officials, and concerned citizens who would like to see the First Amendment right to the free exercise of religion reflected in their state's laws. I am a teacher and learner both, and so I was just excited about what I could share with our project's readers, including those who saw our co-authored piece in the Holland Sentinel in September, as I was excited about what I learned regarding the state of religious liberty across the United States. I want to share one of those lessons with the council as encouragement and even a charge to each of you as you reflect on laws of general applicability that inadvertently risk religious freedom in our community. One of the main takeaways from the large nationwide data project that you can find at religiouslibertyinthestates.com is that religious liberty in practice is not a partisan issue. The discussion is certainly partisan and frequently polarizing these days, but unnecessarily so. In the United States, we can, in practice, codify laws that might be deemed more progressive while simultaneously instantiating protections of religious liberty. In the ranking produced by my project, we see that red and blue states alike have found ways and deemed it important enough to codify real protections for religious liberty. While our typical reader would not be surprised to find a so-called Bible Belt state like Mississippi in the #1 position, as they do feature the most safeguards of religious liberty of any state in the country, many will be surprised to know that Illinois came in a very close second. Illinois, typically thought of as a deeply blue state, is right there, neck and neck with Mississippi, with amazing protections for conscience, especially for healthcare workers. How is this possible for a state, or I might suggest a city like Holland, to balance these values? There is much more work that can be done in figuring out all the cause and effect and the history of the safeguards that we observe in religious liberty in the states. In fact, we've measured 29 potential safeguards in each of the 50 states. But there is already one thing shining through the massive amount of data that I find very interesting, and I think the council should as well. The localities that have been most progressive in extending civil rights and/or anti-discrimination laws to increasing numbers of protected classes of citizens have also in many cases been most likely to carve out protections for religious entities, clergy and religious organizations, for example, in those very same laws. In effect, the protected classes are, yes, protected, but neighbors with deeply held religious beliefs that would preclude their collaboration can follow their consciences and refuse participation. I'll offer one striking example from our data, striking because of the strong feelings on all sides of the issue, but also the apparent feasibility of states seeking a democratic, pluralist solution despite those differences of opinion, and that is same-sex marriage. Among the 19 states that recognize same-sex marriage in their statutory law, that is, states that don't simply follow the 2015 Supreme Court decision in Obergefell, but have actually legislated same-sex marriage recognition. Among those 19 states, 74% also make allowances for clergy to refuse participation in marriage ceremonies that conflict with their beliefs, and 63% offer refusal rights to religious organizations. That's a much higher percentage than in the states that don't recognize same-sex marriage in the letter of their laws and have not done the hard work of legislating tough issues in a pluralist society. I would urge the council, if committed to a progressive agenda, to consider employing the same approach of doing that hard work in those states as those states I've just mentioned have. Issues like our city's DEI ordinance needn't be an either-or scenario. Either protect this group's rights or infringe upon or protect, the religious liberty rights of other concerned citizens. Protection of one person's liberty should not come at the expense of another's deeply held religious belief. Michigan hasn't figured this out yet. Sadly, our state ranks 44th on the Religious Liberty in the States Index. But if the council agrees that we can live with a both-and ethic, Holland really can be a model for other communities in Michigan, and I hope we will be.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address council at this time? Would you please state your name and municipality for the record?
Yeah, my name's Jordan Baller, and I'm in Jenison. We live in an age of increasing sensitivity to rights and wrongs, and this is, in many, many ways, a good thing. The recognition that things are not the way they're supposed to be is the first step in addressing what's wrong with the world, including ourselves, what's wrong out there in the world, as well as what's wrong in here. We must accurately perceive a problem before we can hope to find ways to effectively address it, or, when we cannot fix it, to find someone who can. One way our zeal for justice often goes awry, however, is that it's dominated by recourse to the language of human rights, which are almost always understood to require legal recognition and protection of some kind. If there's something that's wrong with the world, it's nowadays almost always cast as a violation of basic human rights and the intrinsic dignity of every individual. Such wrongs, we're inclined to think, must be addressed in the most direct and effective way available to us, that is, the law. We pass laws and ordinances and implement regulations and resolutions to address wrongs. We levy fines and other penalties for violations, and we sue those who we think have done us some kind of actionable harm. Much of this is both necessary and unavoidable in a pluralistic, democratic, and free society. The limits of what can be done and said must be drawn somewhere, and there will be inevitably disputes at the places where those lines are drawn. But it's also true that we can address things we perceive to be wrong with the world in the wrong way. We can draw more legal lines than are wise or are strictly necessary to uphold and protect the foundations of justice in our society. And that's actually what we've been doing for some time now as a society. In this way, ours is an age increasingly characterized by what many have identified as rights inflation. As the legal scholar Mary Ann Glendon has put it, discourse about rights has become the principal language that we use in public settings to discuss weighty questions of right and wrong. But time and again it proves inadequate or leads to a standoff of one right against another. Glendon's point is not that the idea of inalienable human rights is itself wrong, but rather that it's deeply true and an important idea that has been abused. A rapidly expanding catalog of rights, she says, extending to trees, animals, smokers, non-smokers, consumers, and so on, not only multiplies the occasions for collisions, but it risks trivializing core democratic values. Rights talk tends to be oppositional and win-lose rather than win-win. Thus, Glendon warns, a tendency to frame nearly every social controversy in terms of a clash of rights impedes compromise, mutual understanding, and the discovery of common ground. And this is precisely where we're at today and what we are faced with in the wake of this council's work in contributing to the rapidly expanding catalog of rights, not only related to sex discrimination, but extending to sexual orientation, gender expression, and gender identity. This road of continually extending the catalog of rights is paved with litigation and leads to discord and conflict. At the very least, any time some right has been newly discovered or is first provided with legal protection, the fundamental religious liberty and conscience rights of those who disagree must likewise be protected and respected. And it isn't enough to acknowledge that religious liberty involves the freedom of worship in churches, mosques, temples, synagogues, and sacred spaces. Religion necessarily involves comprehensive claims about all of reality, including the transcendent and the divine, as well as the human and the social. We bring our convictions with us everywhere we go, in our homes, our workplaces, our businesses, our schools, and our city council meetings, as well as our houses of worship. The Dutch statesman Abraham Kuyper put it this way: conscience is the most intimate expression of the life of a human being. Conscience knows that it has received its power directly from God. Protecting rights through the power of positive law is sometimes necessary, but it's always fraught. The conscience marks a boundary that the state may never cross, says Kuyper, or at least it's a boundary that may never be crossed without creating new wrongs, even as we attempt to protect and promote new rights. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address council at this time? Would you please state your name and municipality for the record?
Martha Capistani, Holland. First of all, I want to thank you guys for all the hard work that you've been doing, and I thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of women and children. I've been looking at the changes in laws and ordinance regarding the newly protected groups and the ramifications of these changes in regard to women and children. I've been a coach most of my life for tennis and volleyball. I speak about what I know. I recently came across a video of a high school girls volleyball match where a trans person hit a ball so hard in the face of a young girl that it knocked her out. She was unable to get up on her own initially and was being monitored for symptoms of a concussion. The ball that struck her, they said, was going 70 miles per hour. Now, this young woman chose to play on a women's high school volleyball team and not on the men's team. And the person who caused this injury is a biological male. This person is also playing a dominant position on the court with a net height set 8 inches lower than what a normal men's height of a net would be. Now, I've played volleyball my whole life. I love it. I've never been hit in the face in a women's match. I've played college, so on and so forth. Now, not to say that there weren't a few close calls, okay? But I played indoor, beach, and a few years back I chose to play in several co-ed forest tournaments. Now, many of the men in this tournament were high-level players and had a lot of training, okay? On one occasion, I was hit so hard in the side of my face, I never saw it coming. And as fate would have it, my daughter, 3 points later, was hit directly in the face by this man, and her glasses flew off of her face and went completely out of bounds, okay? Now, my daughter, God bless her, she still plays in this arena, but that is her choice. The big difference here is that I chose to play on the court with biological men, and the young high school girl who was injured did not. Now, is her only choice maybe to play against biological males or not play at all? As it is, all the other teams in that conference have forfeited to that team and will not be playing against them. And now the girls on the team with the trans person will have their playing experience radically altered. So with these new laws, biological males are coming more and more into women and children's spaces. We know that there are real people out there that are struggling with their identity, and they need help, and they need compassion. But now, do we have an overcorrection? Because this is now an open door for another group of people to use this new system of laws that has been put in place to take advantage of others for their own gain or purpose. Today, people are now saying they are gender fluid, meaning they could be a woman one day or a man the next. I don't know, are we on the honor system now? There are concerns right here in the city of Holland of biological males who identify as women possibly entering our women's clothing stores. Now, these female workers have chose to help women when they need it in the dressing room, not men. Now, my talk may go over, so I'm going to ask my friend to pick up where I left off, and she has a little bit more experience in this next section.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address council at this time? Would you please state your name and municipality for the record?
Good evening. My name is Lynn Braybrook Roloffs. I'm a resident of Ottawa County, and I live in Hudsonville, and I'm employed in Holland. I hope to eventually retire and take up residency in Holland. I'm a mom and a grandmother, and what makes me unique to speak on this issue is that I have been a sales rep for Eddie Bauer and for Express in Rivertown, Crossing Mall in Granville. And so I'm going to pick up where Marty left off. For example, let's say a female worker is alone in the store at the time. A customer who is a biological male who claims to identify as a woman wants to help in the dressing room with a zipper or not while trying on clothes. The store clerk is not comfortable with this and refuses. Could this worker be in trouble for discriminating against this person? No one thought about her feelings in regard to this new circumstance she has been placed in. Now, let's say if a man walked into a woman's store and undressed in the changing room and asked for help, he might be arrested for indecent exposure. This is a fine line. This is a new problem with gender-neutral dressing areas in other cities as well. Men are pulling curtains open on women trying on clothes. Men are looking over and under doors in dressing rooms while women are changing. Under these new circumstances, we are dismissing the real concerns and feelings of women and for their own safety. We are dismissing mothers' concerns and feelings for the safety of their children. The potential pitfalls of these laws have been overlooked intentionally or unintentionally and have discounted the feelings of women who have real concerns about spaces that were once safe for them and their children in the city of Holland. More and more people with ill intentions are now taking advantage of other spaces. This is already happening in women's prisons and shelters. Here's an example. In Ontario, Canada, a known rapist identified as a woman on that day and was able to access a women's shelter where he raped a woman seeking help. God forbid that that incident would ever happen in the city of Holland, where a woman or a child is sexually assaulted or injured because a biological male identified as a woman or in a particular day to gain access to a dressing room, a bathroom, a locker room, or a shelter. Help us to understand what recourse does an injured party have in this case? What law protects them from predators who game the new laws were put in place? Who's responsible for creating the potentially dangerous situations? Do they have legal recourse against the city? What kind of safeguards is the city going to provide to protect these women and children at risk? And I just want to remind you, it's somebody's mother, it's somebody's daughter, it's somebody's child. It can even be a male. So this ordinance I want you to consider is putting people at risk. And as a shopper who shops in Holland, because I love Holland and I love all the beautiful shops that we have, I'm noticing a difference in the people, transgender people I'm noticing in different events or shopping excursions that I come to. So it is changing. And so I just wonder, and I ask council, and I thank you for your consideration about how this is going to impact the wonderful quality of character that Holland has to enjoy, the shopping areas with all the family-oriented things that we do. I mean, are we going to have to worry about going in a bathroom and that somebody might be hiding, a male might be hiding in the women's bathroom, posing as a woman, and could potentially take advantage of me and assault me? That's a consideration. I yield my time.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to address council at this time? Would you please state your name and municipality for the record?
Yes, my name is William Hurley. I'm a resident of Glenview, Illinois. I'm a student at Hope College, and I don't have much to say today except that I think that an amendment explicitly protecting religious freedom is necessary in Holland. I am a religious man myself, and I know that I could never bring myself to violate the will of God, either in public or in private. I see in some places in this community and at Hope that protections for religious freedoms are needed. For example, Hope College recently updated its anti-discrimination statement to include those with traditional beliefs. In a place such as Hope, somewhat like Holland, many would think that this would not be necessary, that religious beliefs have a home here. But this is changing, and the administration at Hope has seen this. I've experienced this discrimination at Hope myself. When I expressed my belief in the true definition of marriage as between one man and one woman, I was discriminated against while getting my paper checked at the Hope College Writing Center. This pressure on religion is real and emerging, and I don't think it is secluded to Hope College's campus. An amendment protecting religious freedom is necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address council at this time? And would you please state your name and municipality for the record?
Yes, my name is Zafir Arbisu. I'm from Holland. Greetings. Glad to be here in front of you all. I just want to agree to what some of the members, people have said, that it is very important that we uphold the First Amendment, you know, the freedom of speech and freedom of religion, because this world is created. I 100% believe this and expressing right now my freedom of religion, that this world was created by God, and the God that created the earth and the sun, he placed it in a place where it's like perfect. Like, why wouldn't we trust the God that knows where to place things perfectly? Even like the ozone layer, who would have thought of that? Like, we can't even really see that, but we just trust in the one who like knows what is right. And so our founding fathers, they did the same thing too. They trusted God, and they placed biblical principles, and that has preserved our country. And it says in Matthew chapter 5, I believe, you are the salt of the world, and if a salt loses its saltiness, what good is it? It's not. Who likes unsalted food? Well, I mean, unsalted food can be healthy. But what I'm trying to say there is, like, if we stop preserving the biblical principles, then it leads to destruction. In Proverbs, it says, there is a way that seems right to a man, but in the end thereof leads to destruction. And back to our founding fathers, if we all pull out $1, it says, in God we trust. Look at where our founding fathers have gotten us. Why don't we continue to listen to who they listen to, which is God himself? And if God knew how to create a baby in a womb, to creating the earth, the trees, the oxygen, the CO2 and O2, like, why do we stop now? We're merely human. Why don't we listen to the God of the universe? So I just want to emphasize it's so important that we keep religious freedom and different ordinances and everything we do, because he knows what's best above all else. And I've trusted him with my life, and it's gotten me this far, and it's protected me from so many things. And I believe it's really important for our children and for the women, even the men. It's so important for everybody, even if those that do not believe yet or will soon believe. It is true that God knows what's best, and yeah, for even if the believers, even if the non-believers don't believe this, it's true. And I just want to encourage you guys with that, and that, you know, if you place your trust and faith in God, He will help you, and He knows what's best, and He'll get you through anything. So that's what I want to share. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address council at this time? Please, no responses from the audience. Is there anyone else who would like to address council at this time? Seeing none, I will close the public comment period. Next item on the agenda is item number 7, 7A, PA 198, tax abatement for power manufacturing, 1886 Russell Court. Mr. Van Beek.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. So we have 2 tax abatements tonight. The second is built upon kind of that special process that we've heard from Greg King, who's here with us tonight from Lakeshore Advantage, where we've done several of these speculative tax abatements. We'll save that for second. But first we have what kind of sounds like kind of the regular tax abatement, which isn't regular to a company when they make the investment. And this is, in this case, for power manufacturing. And they are investing an additional $2.3 million to add a 32,000 square foot addition to their property and 6 new jobs. And you all heard it many times of why do we do this, right? And the discussion quite often is we can either maybe not participate in these 198s and get 100% of nothing, or we can participate and extend this to encourage either new or really most of our 198s are existing companies that are able to exist back into their company and then bring new jobs in power manufacturing. It's 6 new jobs. And I did in the calculation, just to change it up a little bit this time, when we play this out over the 12 years, for all of the taxing units, this expansion would calculate out to maybe be $386,000 of additional taxes that would come into all of the taxing entities. But then what we're participating in and the owner and company is participating in is that they're saving a little bit over $300,000 in order to make that investment here. We have with us tonight Greg King, if there's any questions. But also we have Todd Mulder, who is the president of Power Manufacturing. I know Todd a little bit, and I know a really dear friend of mine that used to work for Todd. So Todd, why don't you come on up and tell us about your company, both past and maybe what your current plans are.
Sure. Power Manufacturing started, thank you for your time, everybody, first of all. I appreciate being here. Started September of 1992 in a small rented space in Grand Rapids. In 1999, we moved to Holland and rented some space. The old Castex building is what I call it, if you guys know where that is, on Blue Star Highway, just outside the city limits. City of Holland annexed Fillmore Township, 1,200 acres, and then Lamar Construction did a development there, and in 2003, we broke ground on a 20,000 square foot building, finished it in 2004, continued to have some growth in 2008, doubled the building again, and we've continued to see more growth, and we're basically bursting at the seams. And so we're putting on 31,610 square foot addition, which will max out that property. So we're a manufacturing company. We have 8 stamping presses. We have 22 CNC machines. We have some assembly machines. We have some CNC saws. We're a tier 2 automotive supplier, so we make automotive parts and sell them to the big tier 1s, who then they go into assemblies to the OEMs. So we've been growing both revenue-wise and employee-wise. We've been, this year especially, or the last couple of years, we've been raising our wages quite a lot to try to keep up with inflation. We try to give our employees some gas cards once a month just to help, because I mean, eggs are up, gas is up, everything's up, and we kind of feel for that. We have a heart for our employees. I was told you guys want to hear about wages a little bit. So we continue to increase our starting wages. So if a person comes to Power Manufacturing and they've never worked a job in their life and have zero experience, they're going to start today at $18 an hour. And we have people all the way up to $45 an hour. And then we have salaried people that are making six figures. So we're very aware of what what people in the neighborhood, what people in the city of Holland, people in West Michigan are paying, and we're trying to be on the upper edge of that to try to. It's a little bit selfish. We're trying to get good people, but we also, we want a living wage. We would like people to come to work for us, and we always tell people we want them to retire there, someday, whether that's 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. So we're trying to be a good steward, and we're having some success. So I appreciate you guys' time. If you have any specific questions for me.
All right. Any questions from council members? Ms. Coronado?
So, thank you for your presentation, and
Yes.
thank you for your growth here in the city of Holland.
Yeah.
How many employees will this increase your numbers to, or what are you looking to add?
We have 32 right now. 6 immediately will go into this expanded area, but there's a lot of room in there for growth. So as we grow, we're putting on 31,000 square feet roughly. We're gonna go right into 10 right now, because we're kind of on top of each other, which is gonna lead 20,000 square feet for growth. And we have future projects coming in. So I was a little cautious on saying 6, but 6 is immediate.
Okay.
And then there will be growth on top of that.
Well, that's great, and I just was gonna say, bursting at the seams is probably not the worst thing,
No,
considering
no,
today, but
it's-
thank you. No, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
being positive, seeing the glass half
Right,
full,
right.
so I appreciate.
It's good for our forklift drivers. We move stuff all over the place 2 and 3 times because we don't have room for everything, but.
Well,
yeah.
awesome.
No, it's good problems to have. It is, yeah.
Thank you.
And the city of Holland's always been good to us, really. I mean, I grew up here, but then when we started in Grand Rapids, I really wanted to be in Grand Rapids, but then I had heard good things about Holland, and I'm glad we came back. Good workforce, good people. You guys have always been supportive of us, so.
Well, we appreciate the partnership, thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Any other questions from council members? Great, thank you very much, appreciate
you.
it.
Thank
Yep. This does call for a public hearing, so at this time, I would open a public hearing for any member of the public that would like to address council in regard to this particular item. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. What is the pleasure of council in regard to the PA 198 tax abatement for power manufacturing?
Move to approve.
Moved by Byrd, is there support?
Support.
Support by Coronado. Any discussion? Seeing none, Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Freeman.
Yes.
Peters. Yes. Corbin.
Yes.
Coronado.
Yes.
Arnshorst.
Yes.
Bird.
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you. Next item, item 7B, PA 198 tax abatement for Knitted LLC 105 Veterans Drive, Suite 110. Mr. Van Beek.
Yes, thank you. So as I kind of indicated earlier, this is on the heels of, as we recall, that with these speculative tax abatements, first you establish the tax abatement for the building before necessarily a company has moved into that space. And then what we do, thus the name speculative, I assume, we hope that a company comes and takes over that space and is successful in that space. And here is one of those good stories where Knitted is about to make a presentation to you. They are taking over about 58,000 square feet, which is the largest section. It's more than just Those were divided up in different sizes so they could take up more or smaller of that space. So this is a good size cost. It was initially $430,000 associated with that and 3 new jobs. And with us tonight, Scott Geerlings was the developer that first did this development. But with us tonight, we have Liz Hilton, who's the founder. And as she described to me, her chief marketing officer is also with her tonight. So, Liz, why don't you come up and share about your company and your journey and what this would mean to you and your company.
Yes. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for letting me speak. I am a citizen of Park Township, and I've lived in Holland for 5 years. I moved here 5 years ago because my husband and I, we were living in a little cute flat in Grand Rapids, but we were pregnant, and we knew that Holland was the place to raise a family. But I still had my business doing product development for office furniture, automotive, anyone wanting to experiment with 3D knit technology. I would develop products. So that's what Knit It's identity was 7 years ago in Grand Rapids. I had 1,600 square feet there, and I actually lived there before I married my husband. So anyway, we get pregnant, we move to Holland. I have our baby, and he's not sleeping. So I use the same technology that I had at my fingertips that I was using to solve problems in office furniture and automotive and healthcare to solve my swaddling problem at home. I invented what is now known as the swaddlini, and I knit it on my 3D knitting equipment that I had at Knit It. I then had to downsize into my garage in 2019. I just becoming a new mom and running a business was really hard, and it was just a lot easier to do it without the commute. So I moved into the garage. And 2019, I experienced a lot of growth in my garage, even having to downsize to just one machine. But miracles happen. Throughout the years, I kept Knit It alive, just doing some development here and there, still trying to get Swaddlini off the ground, and taking on W-2 work. And then finally, in January of 2021, I posted a TikTok video of me putting on my Swaddlini invention on my second child. This is my third. Ladies and gentlemen, within 24 hours, that video that I posted on January 7, 2021 got 1 million views on TikTok, and I woke up the next morning to 341 orders. And by the end of the month, that video had 10 million views, and I had over 800 orders from all over the world. And it only took me 3 weeks to catch up from zero inventory. And that was with one machine. So I remember it went viral on a Friday. I had an employee working out of my garage on that Monday, following Monday. And I've been making things to order until I got to move into this space. I just recently got caught up, and I have systems. I hired a systems engineer who used to work as a quality engineer at Magna Mirrors, and I was able to hire a direct labor employee who used to make $11 an hour at T-Mobile and hated her life, and now she loves her job and she makes $18 an hour. Since when I moved in, I had 2 machines. Now I have 4, and I just moved in August. I have another machine coming next month. I have 3 more coming by the end of Q1 2023, and I expect to, from there, double by 2024. That's my presentation.
Any questions from council members? Mr. Freeman.
I just have a comment. I feel like I'm on a TV show where you're presenting your business idea and we get to invest in it somehow.
Yeah. I know.
And so just way to go.
No, thank
way
you
to go.
so much. Thank you.
I think I saw you at Surge here at the Civic Center. Yeah, at Civic Center pre-COVID, maybe. Weren't you there?
I love getting involved in the entrepreneurial community. I always say, if I didn't land in West Michigan, there's no way I would have started my own business, because the community here has been so inspiring. Also, the first month I started Knit It 7 years ago, I won 5x5 night at Start Garden. When right before I launched the Swaddlini in 2018, I was one of the first 10 finalists of the 100 Ideas competition, winning $20,000. I mean, without that, I really wouldn't be here. And you know, I became an entrepreneur by accident. I'm from New York City. I was relocated here when I was 22 to do 3D knit development for office furniture for TechNet. And I kind of, after 3 years, my boss went to be a senior knitovator at Nike, and I was very lonely, and I was like, you know, I'm just gonna start my own company so I don't have a boss and blah, blah, blah. And it was really Stark Garden that taught me I was an entrepreneur and that this is what I'm doing and who I am. And now I'm building a team, and I go to work every day, and yeah, it's a manufacturing plant, but it really feels more like a living, breathing art installation. Yeah.
Other questions, comments for the applicant? I just want to echo what Mr. Vreeman said, and it was put really well. This is an investment that the city makes in our business community, not only to help them grow, but to help for the success of the community. And your story is phenomenal and exactly the kind of thing that I know I love to hear about the city of Holland. And I am absolutely enamored with your chief marketing officer. What a great idea to bring your staff here with you, and again, what a great testament too to the kind of business that you're doing, that you view your marketing officer the way that you do with that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is there any other comment or question from council members? Yes, Mr. Byrd.
Just a comment. The story that you just gave is a testament of what I have always beat the drum on, Holland Special. You come all the way from New York to see Holland Special. You made the comment that if you were not in Holland, you would not be a business owner. Holland is, we have all lived here for so long that sometimes we take things for granted. And what we have here in Holland is something that is unique, special, and a lot of communities could learn from us. A while ago, we were deemed as one of the best small cities to start a business, and wow, it's really amazing to see you come in here and share your story and to see the growth that you have, and I wish you luck.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions or comments from council members? No? Great, thank you very much. This also calls for a public hearing. So at this time, I would open a public hearing for any member of the public who would like to address council in regard to this particular item. Mr. King, would you please step forward and state your name for the record?
Yeah, right. I felt weird not speaking tonight, but Greg King, Senior Business Solutions Manager for Lakeshore Advantage. I think you guys all made the points, but I think with Knitits, we were talking about this right before I came here, they're kind of like the perfect company that Lakeshore Advantage exists for. They kind of came about, started an idea, participated in the Surge program, entrepreneur, working, figuring things out, and now on their way to past the second stage company and being a mature company, and that's why we exist. And so we were so excited, we were talking about this project earlier, that this is a perfect case study for why we do what we do and why I do what I do. And so I just wanted to reiterate that and come up with that. You guys were making the points, you were taking all my talking points off my list, so I was like, what do I have to come up with? And you said the surge thing, I was like, shoot, there's like a whole half page right there. But I just want to make sure I reiterated that, and that Liz and her team, and that it has the full support of Lakeshore Advantage and our folks at Surge as well. So that's it.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address council in regard to this particular item? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. What is the pleasure of council in regard to this item?
Move to approve the tax abatement for Knittit.
Moved by Vreeman. Is there support? Support by Byrd. Any discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Corbin.
So I held from this point in time just to say thank you. That's an awesome story. This is exactly what this is for. And this is one of the most proudest moments I have on city council to vote for something like this. This is where we need to be as a city, as a nation, in supporting young business entrepreneurs like yourself. We're so eager to make a life for yourself and your family and the community. So thank you very much for what you're doing.
Any other discussion? Seeing none. Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Peters?
Yes.
Corbin?
Yes.
Coronado?
Yes.
Arnshorst?
Yes.
Byrd?
Yes.
Vreeman?
Yes.
Mayor Box?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you. Next item on the agenda, item 8, unfinished business. I would entertain a motion to remove item A, the brownfield plan for 285 West 36th Street and 906 Washington Avenue, Lakeshore Habitat for Humanity Incorporated and Jubilee Ministries Incorporated. I would entertain a motion to remove this item from the table.
Motion to remove item from the table, item 8A.
Moved by Corbin. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Aaronshorst. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a voice vote on this. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. This item is removed from the table. Mr. Van Beek.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. So you'll recall, and this has been in front of you a couple different times, and now you know these good gentlemen by first name, I think. And just a reminder, the process that we've had here and why this is unfinished business. We don't often do that whole table and remove it from the table and everything. But we brought this in front of you, excuse me. This was unanimously recommended to you by the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. We held the public hearing. You had the full presentations. And for anyone viewing from the public, you can go back and see all those full presentations. I'm sure we're ready to remind and go through that process again. But the reason that you didn't ultimately take action on this item is through our recommendation and legal counsel's recommendation, because we didn't have one important thing in place yet, which was a recorded deed. And we now have that, you now have that recorded deed in place. So that allows you all to take final action on this. So that's just a little bit of a background. Steve, Don, if you want to add anything or just do a reminder as we have, a visual of the project up there, maybe just take the opportunity and maybe even give just an update, because I know there's been some work out there. I drive out there every once in a while, and I think you've been doing some digging. So I think council would be interested in hearing about that.
And gentlemen, just for formality's sake, would you please state your first and last names for the record?
Yes, Don Wilkinson with Lakeshore Habitat for Humanity.
And Steve Gross with Jubilee Ministries.
Yeah. And we're excited. First of all, thank you for your patience. We had a couple of easements that I don't know why it took so long to get signatures. There was never a problem with any of the easements. It just took forever to get all the names on the papers and documents. So thank you. The deed is now recorded, and yes, we've actually started doing some footings. We got our building permits this week, and we are planning on the week of December 5th and would love to invite everybody to come by that week. We have 4 builders in the area that have graciously stepped up and said, you guys are behind schedule. We'll put all 3 of those houses under roof in 1 week. So hats off to those guys for doing that. We're a little nervous, but all the material's ordered and we're excited about it. But I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you. When we hear about businesses like this is exactly the type of people that we serve. When I started at Habitat 6 years ago, one of the things that kept coming out was I kept hearing, businesses need to pay more, businesses need to pay more. And I think businesses have stepped up to pay more. But my stance was also, we need to make Holland a less expensive place to live, a less expensive place to do work, and a better place to live through all of that. And you guys have made that possible through these abatements and also through our abatement. Just to give you a quick reminder, our Park Vista development, which is finished now, we were able to not put money in our pocket by doing this tax incremental financing, but cut the cost of those houses by $30,000 to $40,000 on each house, making them more affordable. And that's what these tax incremental financing do for us. So we just say thank you for all of that.
Yeah, not much more to add other than, our models are a little bit different, but the same thing is true that these houses are appraising for close to $300,000, and we're selling them for around $200,000 in order to get folks into some affordable housing. And part of me says, boy, that's crazy that house is appraising for $300,000, But if you look at the cost these days, what we're having to put into the homes to do them, it's getting pretty close. So thank you for your support in making this happen and making the dream of home ownership happen for, in this case, 42 new people in our community.
Any questions for the applicants? Comments? Mr. Vreeman.
Just one comment, and I think we've said it before when you stood before us. I just so appreciate two different nonprofits working together, standing together, and making things happen in our community. So just know that it's noticed and appreciated.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Byrd?
Yes, thank you guys. I have so many, I can't say thank you enough, really. You guys know where I come from. You know I'm a Habitat homeowner. I'm excited to see this. I'm excited to see you guys merging together to help more people. I'm just really excited. I don't know really how else to say it. I've driven around the property a few different times, seen our sign out there. I always get a chuckle of that. But you know, it's so awesome, again, to live in a community where people are selfless and always looking to bless other people. Again, if I lived anywhere else, I wouldn't be in this position. If I lived anywhere else, I really don't know how my life would have turned out with everything we went through if it wasn't for organizations like Habitat. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Any other comments from council members or questions? Yes, Mr.
Yeah.
Corbin.
So I go around, talk to a lot of people all over various counties and across the state, but then outside the state. But I hold the two of you in such high regard. I talk about you two all the time and your organizations and what you do. So proud of who you are as individuals, but who you represent and the mission you guys are providing to this community. It's a really neat thing to have, best practice that I hope other people follow your example. So thank you.
Thanks.
Any other comments, questions from council members? I'm going to jump on the love train here as well. They've talked about how well you guys do what you do. I want to make sure that the public is aware of how important it is, what it is that you're doing in this community. I get questions almost every day. How are we going to find housing for all of these people that are coming to the city of Holland, the number of jobs that are coming to the community? And I often have to let people know that I would much rather be the mayor that's in this seat when 12 to 1,500 new jobs come to the community rather than the mayor who has to explain why 12 to 1,500 jobs are leaving the community. This is a community that is growing for all of the reasons that we've heard here tonight, but that creates a problem or an opportunity. And you guys have stepped into the gap. We have private developers that are out there, but as you've said, it is very expensive to build homes in the city of Holland. And I have just as many people asking me questions of what is the city of Holland doing about affordable housing? Well, we don't build houses, you do, but we can do what we can to support you in that mission to try to get as many quality homes as we possibly can out there for the workforce in the city of Holland. And I went and visited Park Vista, and wow, those are gorgeous starter homes. I would have loved to start in a home like that. They're fabulous. They're not opulent, but they're great starter homes. And you're not only building homes, as we're seeing here in this project and at Park Vista, you're building neighborhoods. You're building community. And I want to thank you for that, because the people of the city of Holland not only deserve a place to live, they deserve a good place to live, a safe place to live. And that builds community as well. So we appreciate that. Thank you very much. And we do not need to do a public hearing on this one, correct? Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we did this correctly. What is the pleasure of council in regard to the brownfield plan for 285 West 36th Street and 906 Washington Avenue for Lakeshore Habitat for Humanity Incorporated and Jubilee Ministries Incorporated?
Move to approve.
Moved by Byrd. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Vreeman. Any discussion? Seeing none. Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Corbin?
Yes.
Coronado?
Yes.
Arnshorst?
Yes.
Bird?
Yes.
Freeman?
Yes?
Peters?
Yes.
Mayor Bucks?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is item 12E 6.1, gifts. Oh, excuse me, I skipped over written petitions and communications. We do have, in addition to an opportunity for the public to come and speak to us directly at city council meetings, we also give them the opportunity to be able to send us emails if they so choose. And we actually have a special email address for that. For those folks who are listening, it is publiccomment@cityofholland.com. That's publiccomment@cityofholland.com. No need to go to the city website and look up the addresses of each and every city council member and perhaps make a typographical error. You can simply go to publiccomment@cityofholland.com and reach all of us at once. We review those in between our regular meetings, and if we have any at a regular meeting, we accept them into the record at this time. We do not have any today, but I just wanted to make sure that the public was aware of that. Now we are on to item 12E 6.1, gifts. Kathy, would you please review the gifts?
The city manager's office is pleased to report the following gifts. Department of Public Safety Services, Victim Services Program, Holland Department of Public Safety Fire Department Union, $750. Parks and Recreation, Sal Perez Scholarship Program, various anonymous donors, $38. It is recommended that these donations be accepted with appreciation, credited to the appropriate account, and an expression of gratitude be forwarded to said donors.
Thank you, Kathy. What is the pleasure of council in regard to the gifts?
Move to approve said gifts and donations be accepted with appreciation credited to the appropriate accounts, and that the expression of gratitude be forwarded to the donors.
Moved by Coronado. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Arnshorst. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 13, communications from the city manager, Mr. Van Beek.
Yes, thank you. 3 quick things tonight. First, I know probably all of you aren't familiar with him, but some of you are. And a sad day in the city of Holland, and for a prior employee, and I would say part of the larger family, received news today that Greg Robinson's wife passed away last night. She has been ill for some time. Greg was a long time and very valuable city employee as assistant city manager, served all of you as a stint in an interim city manager, as one of the finest human beings anyone that met him would know. So just to let you know, I'm sure there will be more information shared out in the community and otherwise, but if you could keep Greg in your thoughts, and if so inclined, your prayers.
Can I
please do,
ask
Quincy.
something? Yes, he's a great guy. One of the things that I'm wondering is, could we do something as a council for him?
We'll do something as a city, so maybe, but if you want to do something additional, maybe we can group up afterwards or
Okay.
something. But
Yes.
he will be definitely recognized, and I'll also share any arrangement information when I get that available for you all too.
Thank you.
On a more uplifting note, the Parade of Lights is coming up, and this will be the last meeting before you do that, and I would be in trouble if I didn't point out to you. Marty made sure to let me know that she has a box of swag for you right back there. So after the meeting, come and get your swag for coming out to the parade and your float and participating in that. So I have that back there. And then finally, next week is Thanksgiving, and the following is a 5th Wednesday. So you have a couple weeks off from us. So, and that's all I have.
Great.
Uh-oh.
29. 29. November 29.
Thank you, Nikki. November 29.
5:30 lineup.
5:30, yep. Thank you.
Well, you're most entirely welcome.
All right, next item on the agenda, item 14, appointments and communications from the mayor. I do have a number of appointments this evening. I would recommend to City Council to approve the appointments of Robert Hamilton and Abigail Klomparns to the Human Relations Commission with terms to expire on June 30, 2025. The reappointment of Marvin Martin to the Dangerous Structures Hearing Officers, his term to expire November 5, 2025. And the resignation of Matthew Weirmeyer from the Human Relations Commission effective August 25, 2022. And that is in the form of a recommendation to council. And I would entertain a motion.
We're waiting for
In
instructions.
case it wasn't clear.
Move
Sorry.
to approve said appointments and reappointments and the resignation.
Yeah, moved by Coronado. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Aaron Source. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And following along our small business agenda this evening, I do have a mayoral proclamation in regard to Small Business Saturday. Whereas the government of Holland, Michigan celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community. And whereas according to the United States Small Business Administration, there are currently 3.2 million small businesses in the United States. They represent 99.7% of firms with paid employees in the United States. They're responsible for 62% of net new jobs created since 1995, and they employ 46.8% of the employees in the private sector in the United States. And whereas 79% of consumers understand the importance of supporting small businesses in their community on Small Business Saturday, 70% report the day makes them want to encourage others to shop small, independently owned retailers, and 66% report that the day makes them want to shop small all year long. And whereas 58% of shoppers reported they shopped online with a small business, and 54% reported they dined or ordered takeout from a small restaurant, bar, or cafe on Small Business Saturday in 2021. And whereas Holland, Michigan supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our communities. And whereas advocacy groups, as well as public and private organizations from across the country, have endorsed this Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday. Now, therefore, I, Nathan Box, Mayor of Holland, Michigan, and members of the Holland City Council, do hereby proclaim November 26, 2022, Small Business Saturday in Holland. And we urge our residents of our community and communities throughout the country to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday and throughout the year. Given under my hand and the seal of the City of Holland, this 16th day of November 2022, Nathan Box, Mayor. In addition to the announcements of the Parade of Lights, also the Kurtzmark is going to be starting again on Saturday morning. It is their 25th year in the City of Holland. There will be a ribbon cutting to celebrate the 25th year with various dignitaries there at 11 o'clock on Saturday morning. So you have an opportunity to see a variety of different booths and vendors throughout the holiday season. So I encourage folks to go and visit the Kurtzmark as well. And that is all I have this evening. Any appointments, motions, or communications from council members?
I do. I didn't know I
Yes,
was
Ms.
gonna say
Aaron
this,
Source.
but I will anyhow. Aren't we glad the election is over? My lawn is clear. And thank you to our very own city clerk for running such a smooth operation. I was here last Tuesday, and all the people coming in and registering to vote and voting on the same day. Good. Too bad we didn't know that was going to be election day ahead of time. But thank you very much for all that and running that and all over Ottawa County. I think it went very well. And Justin Robach had was mentioned in the Washington Post earlier that week. And you said their team came here. The Washington Post came here too, looking at the city of Holland. So we did well, and thank you for everyone for making that happen. And for voting, I'm sure, right?
Yeah. Anyone
Thank
else? Ms. Coronado?
I just wanted to mention I was at the library the other night, and it talked about how this November is Native Americans Month and Men's Health Month. So, colleagues, make sure you're taking time for yourself. Self-care is important. And just wanted to acknowledge all the veterans who've served and their families. We just celebrated Veterans Day this past Friday, so thanks to my fellow veterans on council and those in our community, so thank you.
Any other communications, motions from council members? If not, there's just one more motion I would entertain.
Move to adjourn?
Moved by Vreeman, is there support? Support by Peters. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you all.